Hello everyone, it's with a heavy heart that I have to share that another modern workplace certification exam bites the dust. For those of you following the channel, you know that the modern workplace certification portfolio has already been cut in half this year alone. And at the beginning of the year, this is what it looked like. We had a ton of certifications for Exchange. We had multiple certifications for Teams. We had two expert level certifications. But by the end of the year, the Modern Workplace Certification exam will go down to only a few. So let's learn exactly what happened right after the intro. Okay, now that we're back, before we go in detail into what actually recently changed, let's do a quick recap on what has changed this year. So first of all, we had exam MS 220, the Exchange Online Support Engineer specialty, which already got retired in July of 2023 and will not be replaced. Same fate for the MS500 exam, the Microsoft 365 Security Administrator. Same fate for the MX600 exam, building applications and solutions with Microsoft 365 core services. Well, this one, if you're a Microsoft partner, you can actually still retake it until the end of the year because it's required for a partner competency. So if you're a Microsoft partner, you can still take this one, but for the general public, it's not available anymore. We then have the MS740 troubleshooting Microsoft Teams. It was a specialty level exam which also got retired in July 2023 and will not be replaced. We also had a few certification exams that simply got replaced. For example, the MD100 and MD101 have been retired and will be replaced by the exam MD102. So we do have still a certification for that audience, but instead of being two exams, it's now only one. Same fate for the MS100 and MS101 exams, which have both been retired and they are now replaced by a single exam, the MS102. And in a similar fashion, we have MS Exam 720, which got retired and replaced by exam MS 721. But now, those are all things that happened before I'm recording this year. So those are the modern workplace casualties so far in 2023, but there's a new one that got announced. So on August 3rd, 2023, Microsoft created a blog post on the Microsoft Tech community where they post a lot of the news related to all of their products as well as certifications and with a very generic blog name. Microsoft Learn updates to our learning and certifications. Inside it was a major retirement of a modern workplace exam, and we're talking exam MS203, the Microsoft 365 Certified Messaging Administrator Associate. Now, for all of you that are not super familiar with the Messaging Administrator Associate exam, it was your Exchange Online certification. Think of it as anything that had to do with email, whether it's security rules, anti-spam rules. If you've ever had an email stuck in quarantine and you needed somebody to take it out of there so it's delivered, you would talk with your Exchange Online administrator. That's all the stuff that was covered in the Messaging Administrator Associate, or as I like to call it, the Exchange Online exam. Now, this certification exam will be retiring at the end of December 2023, and if you have that certification right now, you will have until June 2024 in order to renew it. Of course, for any Exchange admin out there, this was the only certification that really covered Exchange Online. So, of course, it's a big loss. Let's take a look at what Microsoft said about retiring this certification. Learners and organizations have shared their feedback that this certification should better align to the current needs and evolving business landscape. To focus on developing the right experience, we'll retire the Microsoft 365 Certified Messaging Administrator Associate Certification and the associated MS203 exam at the end of December 2023. And there's a little bit of hope in there, and we'll invest in building new exams, certifications, and training to meet the needs of today's workspace. So, really, Microsoft decided that the MS203 exam did not fit a role inside organizations anymore. And remember, at the end of the day, the certification is also tied with the Microsoft official training. So maybe they really saw a decline in the number of people taking the official Microsoft course for this certification. Microsoft also shared a quick FAQ about the certification. So first question, I've been preparing for the MS203 exam. What are my options now? Well, if you've been preparing for the MS203 exam, why not try and go pass it before it gets retired? So what Microsoft recommends and what I personally recommend is take that exam. Why not go get certified? That certification will remain in your transcript forever. Yes, of course, it might go into retired certifications, but still, you will have earned that certification. So if you already started studying or you're thinking about doing it, don't lose the opportunity. Don't regret it later. Go finish your studies and go pass that exam. You'll still be active for 1 year from the date you pass it. And after that, it will always remain in your transcript under expired certification. And believe me, I have so many expired certifications right now. I have a Windows Vista exam, a Windows 7 exam. They're all still on my transcript. So if you're not sure, if you started studying for it, why not go and pass it? Don't regret it once it got retired. Try to go take it before. Now, what happens if you already earned the Microsoft 365 Certified Messaging Administration Certificate? What happens now? Well, if you have it, it will stay on your profile on Microsoft Learn. You still have till June 2024 to renew it, and eventually, either 1 year from the date you took it or 1 year from your last renewal, it will go under expired certifications. Now, what about the renewal for the Microsoft 365 Certified Messaging Administrator Associate? So, as for most certifications, you have to renew them every year. The Messaging Administrator is no exception. So if you take it today in September 2023, you'll be able to renew it one more time until June 2024. If you don't forget, then it will extend it for another year. So you'll have the certification active for a total of 2 years. But again, at the end, if you haven't renewed for more than 1 year and the option will go away, it will go in as an expired certification, but it will still be there. Let's switch over and talk about the Modern Workplace portfolio. What will it look like after 2023? Wow, after working on this slide for that much time, I feel like for the past few years, all I've been really doing is adding exams to this slide. This year, a lot of the work has been undone. So what are we really going to have? We're still going to have one fundamental exam, the MS900, probably, of course, it's a fundamentals exam, is the most popular exam in the portfolio, so it remains there. We then have 3 associate level exams. We have an endpoint administrator exam, so if you're managing desktops, if you're a Windows administrator, this is the certification for you. And of course, the certification actually changed name from Windows admin to endpoint admin, because as an endpoint admin, we don't only manage Windows laptops and computers. We also manage Apple devices, we manage mobile phones, and more. We then still have, of course, the MS700, the managing Microsoft Teams. Teams is still one of the most popular products in Microsoft 365. So we, of course, have the need to train people on how to manage Teams, and there's still the Teams Administrator certification. And lastly, the MS7221. This is a brand new certification created this year for a collaboration communications systems engineer associate. So think of it as the meetings and callings part of Teams. Did you ever walk into a Teams room where you have the big screen, you have the Teams devices, you have speakers in the walls there and in the ceilings, and you have like the long table with 10 microphones on it? Well, if you want to learn how to set that up and you want to get certified to show people that you know how to set that up, well, the MS7221 certification is the one you need to take. And lastly, we have one other exam, the MS102, which allows us to be an administrator expert. So it's the MS102, Microsoft 365 Identity and Services. And this certification, while it changed, it almost remained the same, where it's an administrator expert certification, but they took the enterprise out, which I found a bit weird, to be honest, because if you manage Microsoft 365, you're an enterprise admin, but now the certification name just says administrator expert. So this is it for the updates. Now let me talk a bit about my thoughts about this whole thing, this retirement, as well as all the changes to modern workplace exams in the past year. So the title of the slide, I just had to say it does hurt a little bit, because Microsoft has really cut the number of exams this year, not only in the modern workplace category, but throughout their portfolios. However, the modern workplace has been the one most severely affected. We already didn't have as many exams as many of the other cloud platforms that Microsoft has, but we lost most of the certifications. Of course, at the end of the day, I'm not Microsoft, right? I don't have access to any of the numbers. The only real information I have is my connection to you, the community, and what people write to me about. So, of course, we as community members have no way of knowing the popularity of certain exams. And don't get me wrong, maybe Microsoft cut this exam because nobody really took it. That's a very real possibility, that they looked at the exams and they realized, hey, if we have less than this number of people taking the exams, it's not worth it for us to invest in them anymore, and we would rather spend our money elsewhere. In which case, I can't really blame them. It's an honest business decision. So we don't really have the information to know why Microsoft took this choice in the back. It might be a very valid reason. Unfortunately, we have no way of knowing it. But what I know for sure is that every customer that I go work at, every customer that I go consult for, they have an Exchange Online admin. So I know for sure, while Microsoft retired the certification, the need for an Exchange Online admin is still there. Now the question you might have is, Vlad, are we going to get new modern workplace certifications? If you're like me, you love getting certifications, you love studying, and certifications, at least for me, they're a great motivator, right? We don't have the option to stop learning new things, especially as an IT pro in Microsoft 365. Everything keeps changing all the time, but still I find that getting a new certification is an amazing motivator for me. And you might be wondering, are we going to get new ones? And after so many retirements, when I look at the platform, I realize that as an admin, we're not actually getting fewer products to manage, we're getting more products to manage. And the number of things that I've had to study in the past year, from things such as SharePoint syntax, or Microsoft syntax, I should say, which is all the content AI, Microsoft Viva, Microsoft Copilot. We're getting so many new products. We're getting so many new platforms and suites that we need to implement, we need to configure, we need to manage. I really hope that Microsoft, right now, they're working on certification content for those new suite of products. I think it would be a great motivator for consultants and internal IT to go study and become experts on the latest generation of Microsoft products. One of the reasons why I'm always sad when a certification goes away is that when a certification goes away, we also lose the Microsoft official training content for it. So how it usually works is that when Microsoft puts out a certification, they will also have an official training. So this official training, it will be done by Microsoft certified trainers at Microsoft Learning Partners. The MS203 exam was a 4 or 5 day course. I'm not an Exchange admin, so I did not teach it, but there was a wealth of good information for somebody maybe changing careers, coming out of school and being passionate about this role, that wanted to become an Exchange Online admin. But now that certification will also be going away. So we are losing an opportunity for people to study that role. Now, don't get me wrong, Microsoft might decide to create a Microsoft official course that's not related to a certification. They've done it in the past. Look at the MS080T, for example, Microsoft official course. It's a one-day course on the employee experience platform. So they created the training for it, but no certification attached. So that might happen for Exchange Online admin as well, but it's not something that we really know yet. Now, of course, if we take a step back, Microsoft has been retiring quite a few modern workplace certifications. And when I look at the certification portfolio, I kind of realized that the core products of Microsoft 365 don't have a certification anymore. Think of SharePoint, for example. You can't have Microsoft 365 without a properly configured SharePoint tenant. It's at the core of every file, every video you have in your Microsoft 365 tenant. And of course, OneDrive for Business is the same thing. We now will not have a certification for Exchange anymore, as well as for Microsoft 365 devs. So really, one of the most popular certifications that we had in the on-prem days, and I think for me right now, some of the most important products in Microsoft 365 will not have a certification anymore, which is huge. Now, of course, from a training point of view, yes, a little bit of self-promotion in there, but third-party companies will still create training for those products, right? Because even if Microsoft doesn't have a certification anymore, companies such as Pluralsight and others will still create training for them. For example, I just released a course on managing SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business. Even if a lot of my content on Pluralsight is related to certifications, I'm so passionate about SharePoint and OneDrive that I have a training video on there. It's about 5 hours long, so it really goes in depth in the life of a SharePoint admin. And there is also, of course, lots of Exchange Online content on Pluralsight as well. To finish this video, I would really love to know, what do you think about this retirement? It's tough for me to speak from experience because I'm not an Exchange Online admin. I'm honest here. I have no idea if the scope, the role defined in the certification actually matched what an Exchange Online admin does. I work with a lot of Exchange Online admin because if you manage teams, if you manage groups, you have no choice but to work together. And every company I go at has an Exchange Online admin. That's why it was such a shock for me to see this certification be retired. I never thought this certification would be retired, but if there's any Exchange Online admins listening, please do let me know, what's your take on this certification being retired? Do you think it's a mistake on the part of Microsoft, or do you think that's legit? The certification did not have its place anymore and it was time for it to go. On this, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you found it informative. If you did and you want to get the latest news about Microsoft 365, Power Platform, and of course, certifications, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And again, I'm so looking forward to reading all of your opinions in the comments below.